How is it going, guys? It's Nutshell here, and today we're going to be looking at how you can farm airdrops in Escape from Tarkov, primarily using a very simple method that you can basically use without any risk at all and get yourself some pretty decent items, and of course the biggest chance of getting yourself some really good items out of the airdrops themselves. But how do you actually do that? Well, essentially you can pick up red flares from a variety of different locations in the game. You can find them lying around the map in various different containers. You can also find them in a lot of the marked rooms. Some of the marked rooms like Dorms 314 will often drop red flares in the actual room itself, and sometimes you'll actually spawn in a scav run with a red flare. So these are some of the ways in which I managed to farm up a ton of red flares. But how do you essentially use them, and which is an easy way of using them whilst also stocking yourself back up with these in the future so that you can keep using them in your raids, especially on Escape from Tarkov PVE. So one of the best maps that I've found to actually use my red flares is on Reserve. Now this one works really well because of the fact that it's basically safe entirely up on the dome area. So when I'm deciding that I'm going to use a red flare, all I'll do is come over to this location right here and I'll point it up just a little bit, fire it off, and then we have sent out the flare. And what will usually happen is it will come in just over to the right, but it gives you time now to actually go and loot some of the areas on Reserve. And this is a great way of not only getting the loot from the actual airdrop itself whilst it comes in. It does take pretty much, doesn't take very long to actually come in. There is a cooldown on how many you can actually fire in a raid. I think it's like 14 to 15 minutes or something like that before you can call in another one. But essentially there you go, it's actually on its way in, and at this point we can just loot up the actual radar station. We've got quite a few different places where we can go in the actual radar station. We've got a couple of keys that we can open, and there's a full guide on this kind of run, as well as actually opening up the marked room keys so you can get those done as well. And because of Reserve and having the 3 different marked room keys, you can actually grab yourself a ton of items from those marked rooms themselves, as well as actually then trade them in from a Dorms 314 marked room key, which is going to give you the opportunity to get a ton, and I mean a ton of red flares over the time that you do it. And if you're consistently doing it, you're going to get a couple, you know, upwards of 5 or 6 occasionally, if you're doing a couple of keys, and at least 1 or 2 every single key that you do use, which is really nice because it just comes in as a added bonus, and I always make sure to bring them out. Scav runs are probably your best bet to actually do those runs with, because they just guarantee you a lot more stuff when it comes to getting into a raid, and you can do them really quickly, and you can just get back out without, of course, having the outlay cost of, you know, going through and doing some of the core expensive things, like for example opening the key itself. But now that the airdrop has come in, it usually comes in just outside of where we are right now, so we'll make our way down to the bottom floor, and then we can go outside, which is over here, and then the airdrop is usually either here or will be coming in, and there it is. So got ourselves the airdrop. You just open it up and you'll find yourself a ton of stuff in the airdrop. Usually we've got ourselves a medical crate, which is actually really good. You can get things like lead X's in these, which is fantastic. And of course on PvE especially, you'll get all of this stuff to yourself, so you can just take it out of the raid. Mostly you want to be going for a medical crate, because a lot of the stuff in here is worth a lot more than what you get for other things. But of course you can't choose which airdrop you get. You can get yourself some gear, you can get all sorts inside of your actual crates themselves, but medical ones seem to be the best ones for making a bit of money, and of course adding stuff to your raid. And you can see here, just managing to get quite a bit of stuff. We can use some of this in the future. No, so far no lead X's, which is a little bit annoying, but you know, we can take all of the stuff that's in here, and it's just additional stuff. So if you do have your red flares, this is a really good map to go to, and I highly recommend doing it on reserve. And of course you can farm up so many red flares, especially if you're doing quite a few scav runs to get your scav rep up to 6.0. So hopefully this gives you a little indication of one spot that is really good for me, and basically no risk. You don't have to worry about anything, comes in pretty much straight away on reserve, and yeah, it's just super easy to get. And of course you got all of the loot areas that you do have over here, such as this one where you can open up with some keys, you can get some extra loot in your run, and then of course go off and do whatever you want to do on reserve. And that's one of the key things that I'd recommend. But if you want a full loot run guide of reserve itself and how you can make a ton of money as well as level up a ton of your skills, then I highly recommend you check out this video on screen, which we did yesterday, and hopefully you'll enjoy that one. But that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.